Goose, you almost ready, bro? What the? Oh.
Oh. Matt, what are you doing here, man? It's good to see you. I love the outfit.
Good to see you.
I might get you a little down.
You're soaking wet.
Oh, sorry. I had my moment, you know. What are you doing here?
I like it, man. You got the champagne, you got the Charizard.
Yeah. I mean, what do you do with your alone time?
Oh, bro, you got the unbuyable.
I don't think they're supposed to know about this yet.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Ready to go?
All right, man.
Let's rock, man. I tried to put the school hat on Charizard, but his head's too small.
It's all right. I've tried a lot of things with that poor boy. Most of it doesn't work.
I have a question that lots of people in the community want to know.
Okay.
Oh!
I know you got to be careful with them bubbles. Thank you, good sir. I'll drink for both of us.
Great to see you. What is your name?
My real name?
Yeah.
So my legal name is Garrett.
Garrett?
Yeah, Garrett. Garrett William Dunlavey. Very English, very royal.
Yeah, super royal.
It's a little bit over the top in my feeling. But my mom never called me Garrett. She always called me Goose. And I remember asking her when I was like a teenager, I said, so why do you always call me Goose? That's not my name. And she goes, just because you're a silly goose. You're such a silly goose, is what she said. And when I look back on it, I think so. My mom gave me both names. One was to situate myself in my environment, and the other one was a description of my personality from her.
At what point do you feel like Goose really emerged out of Garrett? Like all these colours that you're known for in the community that we're surrounded by today. Thanks for the clothes, by the way.
Yeah, you got to do.
But when did you start to really lean into that and embrace that? When did that become like a big part of your personality?
That's a great question. For better or worse, I think it's always been there. For most of my life, it's not been a popular thing. I've always been stubbornly colorful and weird.
Hi, Bon. What's like trying to sneak up the stairs?
Come on, man. It's all good. You can come. My philosophy behind getting dressed and going out was like the opposite of what my family do, like comb my hair, tuck in my shirt, like this whole process. Very structured, very formal.
Because a lot of your family are like lawyer type folks.
They're all lawyers, doctors on my dad's side, where I grew up. And it was interesting that most of them didn't seem like all that happy with their setup. They probably wouldn't say that, but that was my read. Like if I was them, it wouldn't be like that. And so when they would say, hey, here's what you should do, I would be like, is that what you did? And if the answer was yes, I'd be like, okay, well then I know what I need to not do because I don't want that. And I didn't know what that meant I wanted. But I even remember my girlfriend's family later, like my first girlfriend in high school, it's like, we have to put you together. You're just a mess. And they meant it like genuinely and sweetly, but it wasn't me. It didn't feel like me. Mm-hmm. And it took me a lot of time to go back and revisit that. But it wasn't until select communities, ironically, like school, where there's a value in finding a more truer form in spite of what rules it breaks. Mm-hmm. And so I have been stubbornly myself the whole time, and it hasn't done me any favors for the majority of my life.
So you say you get joy out of it, even though externally you would kind of be punished for it?
Yeah.
That's weird. And
it is
super interesting.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if I can explain it.
So you go through kind of like your childhood and you're like getting into your teenage years. I kind of have this picture in my head of like a Jack in the Box, where it's like everyone around you is like trying to like put you more in the box. Like, no, you need to dress a certain way. You just need to just. At what point does it just go like boing?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. There were probably little sporadic pieces over time, but I think the biggest one was after my mom's death. I was 19. My little brother was 11. I made a post about this. First time I've talked about it publicly. And after that experience, when I realized that I shouldn't be waiting for life, that life was happening and leaving, I stopped dating that girlfriend that I had been with for about 4 years. Very white picket fence sort of arrangement. Awesome family though, very, very warm and stuff. That was like I'd never experienced that before. We didn't really have like family dinners, and my mom lived there, my dad lived there, so it wasn't. I was like, wow, what is this family thing? Got my first motorcycle. I stopped cutting my hair. I was actually going to donate it because my mom had cancer, but it grew on me kind of in two different ways. And I was like, I think we're going to keep it. And I started my first company all within about a 6-month period. Because there's this interesting thing I'm going to expand on a little bit. There's this interesting thing. It's a little bit woo-woo-y, but I think if you have a relative close to you that's died, you can resonate with this. It's so hard to talk about this without crying.
You can cry.
Oh, if it comes, nothing will stop it. The fascinating thing is when you have someone so close to you that dies, you can swear that their energy like stays behind. And I remember feeling like totally, completely overwhelmed with that period in time. And when that energy hits you, it can either like bog you down and just make you depressed, or it can just you can funnel it somewhere. At least those were the two options that I saw. Mm-hmm. And when at the time, it wasn't a company, it was a nonprofit. I feel like I can credit that experience completely to that massive change in my life. Yeah. It was really foundational. Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful for it because I wouldn't be on this journey without it, you know?
How and why do you think you were able to funnel the energy rather than
let it depress you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that part might have been in my head. Mm-hmm. It was a decision I made that since life was happening, I probably had to do something about it. And instead of sitting back and just letting life play out, it made a lot more sense to take action on something. And so, you know, the nearest and dearest thing to me was environmental studies at that time. Mm-hmm. Because I'd never taken an environmental studies class. Like, I'm 19 at this time. I'd never thought or been shown this idea of like, oh, hey, what you do with the people around you, which I guess isn't purely environmental studies, but like, you know, making sure your highest paid person isn't paid more than your lowest paid person in company structure, making sure a place isn't shittier after you've arrived than when you came. That was such a cool concept. And I don't want to stay in this vibration the whole time, but I want to share this part. There's one other piece. Fuck. Oh, it's going to be hard to put out in words. Next button. Okay. So there's a point in your life. One of our other buddies in the Skool Games, his mom just died too during the Skool Games, his competition that he won. And we were connecting over it about halfway through the process. And I think the hardest part of experiencing that is all the stuff you can't share afterwards. Mm. And I think that was part of where the motivation came from. Mm-hmm. It was like, hey, I found environmental studies, but couldn't share it with mom. Mm. And all of the cool things that you can work on when you feel like you've got that excitement or that passion. Yeah. Mm. It's like jet fuel.
Yeah, it is. It is. And like what I see in you, I'm going to speak for a couple of minutes, okay?
Yeah, please.
Like what I see in you is like that jet fuel. It's not a fuel that gets like burned up and consumed. It's like a fuel that like compounds in a way.
Yeah.
And like the energy that you have and like the way you show up inside the community, in this digital platform, in person, it's like there is this momentum and there's just energy to it. And I think what a lot of people don't realize, and I think what a lot of people will learn even through this conversation, is that like to kind of keep the jet fuel, rocket fuel analogy going, it's like to get up out of the atmosphere takes like a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And that energy is usually comes from a deep place of pain often in our lives.
I think almost every time.
Yeah.
I think it has to come from pain.
Yeah.
In fact, the majority of changes I've seen in my later life were exactly that, where usually if I willfully subjected myself to resistance or to discomfort, it usually meant that came back in spades in the other direction shortly after.
Crazy.
And that was like my motivation for working out, cold showers, like meditation, which I still struggle with. It's hard to turn the mind off, man. That kind of stuff. Yeah, I think that's foundational to a lot of what brings us here.
Cool, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing the way you did there.
Of course, man.
Super cool.
I think that's a big part of what it's super hard, but the people that I bond with the most, like for example with Justin, on what happened to him this month. If you're not able to share that pain in a way that's not attacking, just to share it, I think maybe that might be one of the fundamental ways that pain can influence you without affecting you. And I think I might give you that answer as to how I got through it. I shared it quite openly if someone was asking, with the family, with whatever. But it was in that action that gave me back sort of my freedom to continue to use the energy as I saw fit.
So if we talk about like getting out of the atmosphere, like I have this sense, like winning the Skool Games, this moment of where you're at, finding these people, I feel like this is like a very big moment.
Yeah.
And so I want to kind of lay like a little bit of groundwork of like how you got to this point. So what else? I think the shortest way to ask this is like, what other pain did you have to go through to get out through the atmosphere? Talk to me about like entrepreneurial pain. Yeah. Talk to me about the failures that like every single successful person goes through. Let's get into some of that territory.
Sure. Well, I'll skim through it. I mean, I think the first big direction comes from my mom's death. And then from that point on, I'm just stubbornly trying to make stupid ideas work. I started with like whatever idea. I was just an opportunist at that time. Oh, you want to do this? Great, let's make it happen. Just like I put on your post, aim, fire, shoot, or shoot, fire, aim.
Yep.
Or whatever that line is. And I learned a lot over those periods of time. I started a handful of companies. Most of them failed. One of them was quite successful with my some friends that I went to college with that were Chinese. It's just silly money. And a lot of them wanted to get U.S. property because it's more like you own it. And in China, you're kind of just perpetually renting it. I mean, I think it's the same in both, like, but ultimately, yeah, it seems that it's a bit more aggressive in China. So everyone was trying to get property and they all had silly money. So I would connect them, and then 3% of a lot is still a lot.
So you would use like your charisma, your ability to connect with people. You would do the relational stuff, and then these other guys would do like the...
Yeah. I had no certifications, no anything. I was just good at making people like feel themselves and get comfortable and get excited about stuff. Excited about everything except for solar panels. Like, hey, do you want to do solar panels? Fuck you. We don't do that. So it didn't work very well that way. But so it was a little bit soul sucking because also China's rough. I'm kind of like bounce from city to city, stuff like this. But it was making good money. I think I was losing myself pretty hard in that process. It was probably why the next thing happened, which was, I was paying for all the bills on the company, and then it would be paid out from the company proceeds, which would come in 8-month increments, 8 to 10 months, depending on how long the development took. So whether it was in Oregon or Beverly Hills, actually we had one in Bel Air at the end that was doing quite well, and I had brought in recruited millions for this thing. And the company seized the account. My partners seized the accounts, and it started this domino chain. By seize, I mean like locked me out. They decided they just wanted to keep it. Sometimes the culture, particularly in that part of Asia, is very money focused. It kind of replaces religion, it seems like. And so what ended up happening was I lost, about $360,000 like that. All my cars gone in 1 week. Yeah, they took it all. And then it affected, at the time, my mentor, probably, I think the only mentor I've had in business. I was footing his family for the year, so that was 80 of it. And he filed bankruptcy on me there too.
Oh, man. How did you end up being responsible for your mentor's bills?
He had been very successful previous to this. He had a couple $100 million a year companies, mortgage, real estate.
Oh, and what
then
year
the
was this?
07 thing.
Okay.
07 thing knocked him down. So he still had all the connects.
Right.
And he knew exactly what to do. The dude was brilliant.
Yeah.
But he needed a couple wins. And when they did this, the dominoes started, and everyone wanted to just take care of them and theirs. So
everyone took care of themselves, and you were left to foot everything.
Yep, exactly. And so that's how that ended. It's a very isolating feeling to have nothing, and of also, like, my dad put in, my girlfriend at the time put in.
They invested?
Yeah. And the majority was mine, but the majority of the pain was not that I lost mine. And so it was pretty isolating. And that was a pretty monumental time because I was thinking to myself, after the pain kind of subsides, you're like, all right, there's a lesson here somewhere. Mm. It's expensive, but it's a lesson. And so what I decided to do was get a camera with what resources I had left, sell the last couple of things I had, get a camera, and go start filming things and maybe put it on YouTube, something like that. Just like try and figure out how to tell stories.
Why was that the response? Usually it's like, and then I got into cocaine, and then it's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make YouTube videos.
Yeah, there was actually a line of logic with it. A lot more feeling, but there was a feeling and a line of logic, which was I had stepped halfway. All the family's lawyers and doctors.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do this real estate thing, halfway in, halfway out. Nope, no one really was interested in like the environmental aspect or anything like that, just pure money. Okay, well, if I can lose still not being 100% ridiculous, which was my kind of core fundamental purpose, I guess, if I were to put it into a word, then what would it look like if I was totally ridiculous? If I was doing literally anything that I wanted at that given time.
So this is when the jack really came out of the box. This is when the jack was like severed from the box. And it was boxless. Now you're just jacking around the place.
Well, I was arrested that time. I suppose I was a jack out of a box at that point. Yeah. Because I remember having a conversation. In fact, I was mentioning this with Max. I was having a conversation with my uncle, and he was like, you sue these motherfuckers. What are you talking about? Chase them down, get your money. What else are you doing here? Mm. And I'm like, well, no, I think I'm going to do Peru. You're going to flee the country? I'm like, from your perspective, sure. But I think what it ultimately was if there could be a moment in time for the universe to say, hey, this might not be what you want, it would probably be something like that.
So do you kind of feel like you are using your artistic, I'm talking about like real estate China days where you're like making the connections, doing the deals. It's like you're using your color and your purity and your soul, but you're using it to like make real estate deals.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if real estate is inherently evil, but
it sure sounds like it is the way I described it there.
It's not fun. I was probably on the most fun side of it, but when you're in an environment, I think this could be true of anything probably. If you're in an environment where the people are so obsessed with the money that that's all that matters, and when they achieve it, they want more of it. I mean, that's just someone addicted to drugs or coffee. It's just an addiction. And this addiction can buy you things and give you the illusion of success, which probably makes it the most evil, potentially, but it's not inherently itself.
It's probably the only drug where the further deeper you get into it, the more rewarded and the more praised you are.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Which means when you're behind closed doors, you're the most lonely. And you find that a lot. In fact, a lot of the people that have found themselves at school, when you talk to them, it seems like most of them have been through that point where you've done everything right. Even if everyone said you couldn't, and you probably wouldn't. You did it. And by all visible standards, you've made it. And you couldn't feel more alone and a little bit lost. I think we've been there. And I feel like that you almost have to walk through that. Based off of what I've seen in my own personal experiences, you have to walk through that in order to unlearn it, almost. That the thing that you thought mattered didn't matter the whole time, which is kind of like a fundamental foundation of a hero's journey anyways. It's just like, it's baked in there. So it's like this thing we all know, but sometimes we forget.
When'd you meet Bon?
Hi guys.
We were introduced by this YouTuber, Sorella Moore, and we were the only people. At this point we were taking a course with her, and we were the only people in this little mastermind that kind of took it seriously. And also we have the same birthday, so we like very quickly we just started connecting. Maybe it's the astrological thing, I don't know. But I grow my hair up here, he grows his down here. We're like we kind of balance each other because he's very good at taking care of efficiencies. And
Bro, your kids would be wild looking.
they're just fur balls.
Is it just
top and bottom? The eyes are in there somewhere. And it's interesting that we're not gay, by the way. Don't let the rainbows and shit fool you. Yeah.
I actually think I saw someone in the school community.
Yeah.
Did they ask her? They're like, wait, Goose isn't gay? And I was like,
no, he kept asking, "Are you gay? Are you gay? Are you gay?"
funny.
Yeah, we were talking about this at HQ recently about how interesting it is that when you're that you are kind of vulnerable in this position where you're sharing information, but still there's a lot of traditional lenses that can look at something. And at this point in life, for better or worse, you look at a rainbow, you're like, gay, right? So I understand the confusion. And that's what I told him. I was like, not all rainbows are curved, I guess. Some rainbows can be straight, I think is what I said.
That's right.
Straight as a rainbow.
So you met Bon. Bon compliments you
Yep.
in lots of different ways.
Yep. Yeah.
How does that synergy change things for both you guys?
I think
don't talk about him. I'm going to talk about him later. How does it change things for you?
Okay. When you meet someone who complements your abilities really well, especially in a so I'll preface it with this. To me, I feel like the most, and I mentioned this also with Max, the most fundamental purpose that I enjoy in a day-to-day basis, if I could put it to words, is that I love the concept of creating with someone these things that are in our head, and then all of a sudden it fucking exists in real life. What kind of sorcery is that?
Yeah.
Love that. And I could just do that all the time. It's so rewarding for me. And I imagine a lot of people feel the same. And so if you can find those people that fit mentally with you like that, it doesn't have to be a partner or a business partner, just people in your life that can do that. It allows you to make things greater than the sum of its parts. Mm-hmm. And I love when you find something like that, if you can hold on to it and apply it to different elements in your life, man, there's nothing better than that. And so that was what happened originally. Bon and I meet. We're just working parallel. He's trying to do an online thing. I'm trying to do an online thing. We're kind of doing it in different capacities, sort of like a brain trust of two. So a line, I guess. And so
left brain, right brain as well. Isn't that kind of fun?
No, I wouldn't really split it like that. It's really interesting. We're almost more of like a front brain, back brain.
Tell me more.
I wish I could. I don't know if I fully understand it. It's because we're both creative in similar elements, and we're both, I guess, maybe emotionally tuned to situations in certain elements. So, like, how does it feel is usually what we're saying, not how does it look, for example. But because we're on the same wavelength there, it essentially means that everything else can complement. Because he's more on detail-oriented things, and I'm more broad. So it just worked quite well. And then we didn't actually meet until a couple of years after that. We were always online. And one day I'm just like, hey, I'm in Mexico with some friends. You want to come? We're going to be here for a few months. And he's like, don't do that. I'll come. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no. I'm not one of those people. Like every time I say I'm going to do something, I'm like, no. This is probably going to happen. I'm like that, for better or worse. And
the fact that we are currently in a mansion with all of the winners of the Skool Games is testament that you are like that. You are that guy.
if the idea,
I went to set the WhatsApp group up with all the winners, and you'd already had it made. I was like, what the heck?
I felt like on that vein, which is super important. I like every school winner group should do this afterwards. Contact me, I'll fucking help you. It doesn't matter. Like the point is, yes, you want to come and meet Alex and the rest, but the most important feature of these kinds of things is probably to meet your peers that had to experience the same shit in order to get to where you are.
Sure.
And so I was like, this is a no-brainer. Maybe we're all just feeling too cool to like reach out, but that's not gonna stop me.
It always takes someone to go first.
Yeah, I think so.
You've led the way.
Yeah, but I don't think it took anything profound. I'm just, like I said, the same category. It's just, if it's ridiculous, I'm in.
So, you meet Bond. Do you guys end up going to Mexico?
Yeah, first time we met in real life.
Wow.
Yeah, we showed up.
When was that?
3 years ago?
Maybe
4 years ago.
4.
Yeah,
So
4
this
years
is
ago.
pretty recent. This is COVID times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wow.
yeah, around then.
Right after the year after of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm there with a few girlfriends. We all have these giant sombreros. Just all of us are holding a sombrero pick, and it's like the size of him.
I look like the
Speedy Gonzalez. Arriba. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was pretty cool. So we came, and the very first night, we're immediately on a boat because we had plans that were going on. He arrived just at that time, and so we jumped on a boat. We went to Isla del Amor. Something like this. It's off the coast of Cozumel. Someone probably knows. And we just camped there that night. And we were like showing off all the cameras and doing these cool photo shoots and stuff like that. Because we were techie nerds. We still are. He's more than I am now. But yeah, that was like the confirmation that we're probably going to continue working in parallel here. And then, you fast forward. I imagine your next question is like, how does it plug into Captivate?
Pretty much. I was going to say, let's go through the wormhole and let's just go like straight
to the end.
Yeah. Let's go
That's
straight.
exactly where I was going.
Let's go straight into like, how did you guys find Skool?
Well, he found Skool. How'd you find Skool?
I'm a fortune teller.
Okay. He actually is. His butt tickles whenever something's going to become popular in the future.
It's like I get turned on.
So basically,
Bond's next community.
telling the tickle.
Yeah.
So he actually is very. I know because I've seen it happen. He can usually predict, like it'll just happen randomly. There'll just be like, hey, I think this is going to happen next year, and it happens. He's able to read patterns quite well with popularity and social media kind of things. And anyways, we fast forward from where we met and got together and started like working a lot on different projects and stuff. And he got a girlfriend at this time that sort of kept in one place because he was traveling less. And not long after, I get a girlfriend that's kind of keeping me in one place for a little bit longer. And so we're still online. But right after he introduces me to Skool, I get plugged in. This is right in the phase where I'm deciding at the beginning of this year. It was the beginning of this year. I go, okay, I want to surround myself with more people that are like who I want to be, or more like what I want to be. And so I was hiring a couple coaches, a YouTube coach and Ted Carr. And
category of one. A YouTube coach and a Ted Carr.
Yeah, no, I shelled out dough for this thing. But I actually didn't do that. I spent more on the YouTube coach because I just had one meeting with Ted. And I was like, oh, I think I know here.
Yeah.
Because I just needed that kind of mindset, someone who had been in the trenches for a while and could just say, no, it's just this, right? And so that was the point when Bon already had a couple of communities and they were doing quite well. And then, Ted sent something to me like, hey, you've been doing this for a while. Why don't you just do this thing, which was web design. I'm fucking amazing at web design. I'm so goddamn good at it. And because it's fun. And so I was like, oh, maybe I can just sell these one-offs. But I realized the beauty was in the funnels, the most painful part of everyone's existence as an entrepreneur. And I was like, okay, what could it look like if you do that? And instead of just giving it to them, which is like most, you try and plug it into their system. Worked like a charm. And I predicted it might. So immediately I call up Bond. This is 3 weeks, I think, 2 weeks, something like that, before April. I go, we're going to win Skool Games. I need you to drop whatever you're doing and come here. Like, just not physically, like, work on this with me. Like, you should fly across the country. Come on, let's go. Fly to Europe.
Oh, I forgot my laptop, dude.
All right, we'll go back. And so that was when we started brainstorming all of this. And within about a week, he was like, okay, I see what you're talking about here. Yeah, I see the potential. And, we launch April 1st, and then immediately he naturally went to tightening down all the systems and fulfillment, and I just was doing what I usually do, which is just make friends with everyone, because it's just natural, I guess. I'm not trying to sell myself as extra cool here. I'm not cool, but like I'm often genuinely curious about what makes people tick and why they do what they do and stuff like that, and what their favorite colors are. You can learn a lot about that, a lot about a person from that. And that takes us to where we are now.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What was it about what Ted said to you? What was it about the platform? Like, we all have our all-in moment with Skool. Like, what was yours?
I think mine was because I had failed so many times. Like, I think this is the last platform. I think I waited. Like, I didn't like the Skool interface. It was so limiting. And I now realize that that's where its capabilities lie. Like, literally, like that sentence, the quote of, creativity exists where there's limitations.
G.K. Chesterton, my guy.
Is that who did it?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, there you go. So it's true. And I kept on using platforms that had full freedom, but you were isolated within communities. Like, Sam's the first dude to have the brilliance to realize people don't know what they want here. Like, really. And like that's a big thing to claim that that they don't know. And so this was the last of a line of like 6 frickin' communities that I had been battering around at for like 2 or 3 years. Like, maybe this will work. At like all my friends, come on, Goose is doing it again. Let's go join and see what happens. And I was just not stopping. So the next one in line, and maybe the last one in line, like I don't know how many community builders are out there, was Skool. And it felt different. And the only thing that was missing, like the structure was there, the beauty was there, the eclectic nature was there, but it was missing some charm. It wasn't quite fun yet, like it is now. And in my mind, I was thinking, I didn't even think that it was something to plug myself into. I was like, oh, this is missing this thing. And I got super excited. And I was like, I do that. I'm colorful and weird.
There was a goose-shaped hole.
There's a goose-shaped hole. And so I just started doing the thing as I normally do. And it organically, and like I'm still saying today, we've never run a single ad. I've still never posted about social media. I think most of my friends don't know what's going on at all. They have no idea. And that's okay. I'm still in it. I'm doing the thing. And that's kind of where I want to be. And everything came from just saying, hey, there's another way to do this thing that you're trying to do, which for a long time was what I was waiting for the world to tell me. Mm-hmm. I didn't really find that. But in a sadistic way, the universe put me in a position to do that for someone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love how like all you did was show up the way you are. And after showing up for however long you've been alive for, and constantly like not finding that goose market fit, to then all of a sudden just like clunk.
Yeah. It still hasn't quite landed on me either. Like, even when I was at headquarters, like I was telling you earlier, looking in the past, that me would have been so fucking excited to be working with brains like that on such an important thing. But being there, it just felt like the rest of the world just melts away, and you're like, yeah, this is this just feels so natural.
Felt super natural.
It felt supernatural. Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, we had a supernatural joke that happened earlier, which is the concept of how interesting it is that the answer is kind of sometimes embedded in the word, but you've given it a new definition.
Yeah.
So you forget what it actually meant, which was when something which is superhuman, you could argue, was actually exactly human.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the word was trying to tell you the whole time.
But I think as well, like what you've done for the Skool community is because you've gone first and you've paved the way, you've allowed everyone behind you to start showing up more like themselves.
Yeah.
And you've allowed everyone to be more natural.
Yeah.
You've allowed them to become supernatural.
Yeah.
And actually by doing so, the whole thing is just better. Like, why do you think there's been, particularly if it comes to online, why is there such a block?
Oh, I know that one.
Yeah, why?
I mean, I'm sure you've probably experienced. I think we all go through it at some point. There's always going to be something where, even in person, it's probably just more dramatic online, where you're like, wow, so many people could see this, that either I'm nervous to fuck up publicly, which was my issue for a long time.
So it's fair.
Or it needs to be so good that it changes someone's life.
Right.
Without realizing that it doesn't have to be much of anything to change someone's life. It can just be. And if it isn't, then it won't. And that was like the biggest thing I had to go through, was first be comfortable with failing publicly. That took a long time for me. And then secondly, to realize, which this I think I got from Ted in that conversation we had, which was, no, it doesn't, you're not trying to make anything perfect. You just do it, and you pick a few people to do it with. And then if you've successfully helped them achieve their goal, which now I understand as a beta client, you bring a few beta clients in, you do what you have to do. Well, now you just replicate that system. They know their problems better than you do, so don't try and assume what they are. But that's challenging to do, to put yourself out there and be like, yeah, I can help you get from this place to this place. But you only have to be one step ahead. One step ahead. So I feel like, to answer your question, the thing that dislodged it for everyone was probably seeing that it was okay. That you could cuss on the platform. Maybe not even just on the platform. I mean, Skool is beautiful because it kind of doesn't care. It just wants you. And so whether you're filled with color or bizarre feelings, like as long as you're genuinely curious or genuinely optimistic, and you could be pessimistic, but if you're asking for help sincerely, that community catches you, man.
Yeah.
And it's not even that big right now.
Yeah.
To have such a amazing, like this is the reason why we still haven't gone to run any ads, is because I'm nervous that it's going to dilute the population. Like, we're more active than a lot of very big communities, and we have 600 people. But those are 600 fucking awesome people. You can drop any thought in there, any concern, any worry, and that's the community that I wished I had my whole life.
Yeah.
Was exactly that. A place where it's cool to have a problem that feels like you're the only one that's ever had that problem.
Yeah. I think that what a lot of people have experienced on the platform is like the Jack coming out of the box. Because if we go back like to the start of this conversation, you have school systems, you have lawyer, doctor, family members, you have girlfriend, family, parents that are just like, get back in the box. And so always throughout our whole lives, and everyone listening to this can relate to this, like Mark and I grew up in Northern Ireland. When we were born, it was the end of a civil war. And so our culture is very extreme, like colour like this, Mark, like if I walked out in Belfast like this, it would just be, I would get stoned or something.
You'd get weird looks, definitely.
You'd get weird looks.
Yeah.
And it's created a culture. I'm going to give a hyper example because I think it's actually universally applicable.
Yeah, please.
So like my parents' generation and their parents' generation, the goal was to be as invisible as you possibly can be. Because you don't want terrorists to know where you live.
Yeah.
You don't want to stand out, because if you stand out, you're going to, I was going to use a maybe too violent metaphor there, but like you don't want to put your head above the parapet. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
And so it's created a real like crabs in a barrel mentality where if anyone starts to try to reach out, if anyone dare wears pink, it's like, no, bring it back down, bring it back down. And I think so many people on Skool have experienced that in their own lives. Who's this wacko entrepreneur? You know, why is my son doing this? Why is my best friend like trying this new thing?
Yeah.
And then they come to Skool, they see someone like you who is completely boxless as a jack, and they're like, whoa, what would that feel like?
Yeah.
And they come out of the box a little bit, and instead of getting like their head bashed down like a whack-a-mole, it's like no, more.
Yeah, exactly.
And the way the culture is right now, and it'll be interesting to see how we maintain this going forward. But the way the culture is, it's like, yes, please bring more of yourself out of the box. And I think that's why even me and so many other people on the platform, it's like, I feel very at home here because I can show up and I'm rewarded for showing up authentically.
Yeah.
And that's the opposite of what we usually have experienced.
It's the opposite of most places, especially online.
Yes.
Social media has, I mean, as we all well know, it's sort of beaten a dead horse at this point. Being popular often means conforming. Mm-hmm. And you win by being popular. Mm-hmm. So it's ironic that it sort of robs you of the thing that will help you enjoy your time.
Yeah.
Which Skool is the only place I've found that has that shit in spades. And it's just getting, depending on your perspective, better or worse.
So good.
More violent with that key feature. It's really, I mean, you've probably seen too, like within the last even just couple of weeks, mm-hmm. it's an explosion of color.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So
far in what you've been seeing on the platform, what's your favorite period in time that you've seen?
Oh, the favorite period of time is always right now.
Yeah?
Always. Like we have a guy back in Northern Ireland, used to be a customer of ours when we still had the podcast agency.
Yeah.
He's got this saying where he says, this is the worst it will ever be. And he has like this awesome factory. He's got like maybe like 70 people, like boots on the ground in this little village in Northern Ireland. And they have such a continuous improvement mindset and such an open culture that allows failure, which is so rare for Northern Ireland. That's one of his little like things that has been burned into our psyches is this is the worst it will ever be.
Yeah.
And so for the Skool community, this is the worst it will ever be. Like it will always get better. It will always get better, particularly like with guys like you who are like stewarding and shepherding the vibes.
Yeah. That's a cool name, Vibe Shepherd.
Vibe Shepherd?
That's too cool. That is too cool. Viber.
So I think that's my answer. My answer is right now.
Yeah.
And that will continue to be my answer as long as we all keep doing our job.
Yeah.
Cool.
I totally resonate with that, man.
Dude, I love this.
Likewise.
I loved hanging with you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for going through all that. It's rare to find places that feel so naturally comfortable for sharing a full range of emotion in such a small period of time.
Yeah. Well,
kudos to you on that.
You set the stage pretty nicely. I love the outfit. I love the merch. People are going to see this and they're like, I will pay my left arm.
Yeah, I know.
Unbuyable merch is just, it makes me go crazy.
Yeah, shit's not for sale.
Sure.
It's just sincerely a way to more accurately represent what Skool is.
So final question for you. This will be an official end.
Okay.
What is next for you? Like where do you see yourself going in the next couple of months? Because you're probably, I'll probably talk to Bon more about this, but like you're coming down from like the post games fever and you have to come down from that. And like, so actually I definitely think we'll talk about that with Bon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so once you kind of stabilize your life, like what's next?
That's really interesting. Because like even during the Skool Games, I diverted to like work on the merch and stuff because it was a hole. Like it was the same thing when I came to school. There's something missing, right? Yeah. It doesn't reflect the character of the place. And, it's more apt for, Facebook or something that's kind of like more. And so I almost feel like next in line, I have no way of predicting. Because all I've done up until this point is just keep doing the thing. There's a hole, I fill it. There's missing color, we apply it. And so I guess that basically means I'll keep running with Captivate and fulfillment. It's so rewarding to be able to see so quickly. Some of the same roadblocks I had that I was able to finally make through in like a month. It's the same. You see people like it's happening right in front of your eyes. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And other than that, probably just trying to keep on bothering all the school people to make it as good as possible, in spite of rational thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably that's my future. And I'm going to start traveling a bit more. I miss doing that.
Cool.
Yeah. I've been locked in for a while, and I think it's about time.
Cool. Dude.
Come here, let me give you a hug. Always hugs.
Loved it, dude. Absolutely loved it. That was fantastic. Oh, no, it was very, very cool.
Yeah.
And I think maybe one of the big takeaways for me is just kind of like, it's the permissionlessness where it's like, if you think something could be better, just go and do it.
Yeah.
Because school is like, it's so early stage, but it's also so open that it wants to be formed into what the community wants and needs.
It is the community.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not any one person or an amalgam. It's not even leadership. If you want to be part of it, you're part of it. That's how it works. And those are the best systems in the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens whenever you sprinkle Goose into Hermosi HQ tomorrow.
he might be goose-proof. But I'm still going to hug him and add a little bit of flair. Like the jerseys. I'm hoping, we might have to tear off the sleeves on the jerseys, but I think he might sport that. We'll see.
So awesome.
Yeah.
There'll be a link to Goose on Skool in the description. And other than that, man.
Yeah.
Love you, man. Very cool.
Yeah. Love you too, man. Thank you.